Hello, this is Ray Kruna, and today I'm going to go over how to take the menus that we've done in previous tutorials and bring them into Scenarist and actually author our first disc and just show how that works. So before we start, just want a couple disclaimers here. I'm not really a great author, but I'll try to do my best and show you what we can do. And the second thing is that this is actually running on my MacBook. You can see here. So this computer isn't necessarily the best for DVD authoring since I'm running it through Parallels, and it's also just not a super fast computer. So with that being said, I'll show you how to do this. If we open up this folder, we have a few things here. This is our tutorial 4 menu that we made. And we have our background M4V. This is just a H.264 video, a background WAV file, and then we have another couple files here for a actual feature that we'll be using. This is just a slideshow I made. So we can't import these straight into Scenarist, so you have to actually run this other program first. It's called the MUI generator. And what you do, I think you can drag and drop these in. And we'll select MPEG-4 AVC. And what this is going to do is actually just create a whole bunch of files here, and you'll see them pop up. It created a MUI file, a text file, a VES, and an XGY file. I'm not really sure what all these do. The only one that we need for sure is this one. I'm sure you need the other one, so keep those in there. Don't delete them or anything. But this is what we'll actually be importing into Scenarist. So we're also going to do this for the WAV file, and we'll do it for the slideshow too. And this is a 6-minute video, so whoops, I forgot to set this to MPEG-4, and that's why that did that. And this is going to take a minute, so I'll probably just stop the recording so that you don't sit here and wait for it. Okay, so this is done. We're going to hit OK, and we can close this because we're done with it. If we refresh this, we should have all of our files here. So now we're going to go ahead and start up Scenarist HDMV. Okay, so what we're going to do is start a new project. And I'm just going to name it Tutorial 6. And then down here, we're going to hit Auto Create Project Folder. And we're going to make it on the desktop, and we'll just call this Tutorial 6 also. And hit OK. And what we can do is import those VES files that we just created. And to do that, it's really easy. You just drag and drop them in to our data editor here. Okay, now we're also going to import our menu build, and to do that, just go to Edit, Import Scenarist Designer file, and here it is already. If we go up to here, this is where all our other files would be, and we're going to go into our HDMV folder and import that. And for this, we're going to choose 23976 because that is what our video is. Hit OK. Now this will create a bunch of folders, and they should look similar to the PSD files we had. There's a couple extra folders in here, but these are the buttons. You can actually open them up if you double click them, and you can see the animation and everything. So there's a couple things we want to do before we get going. And the first is we want to set this menu to non-multiplexed. And then we're going to select our two menus here, and we're going to set our animation frame rate to 1. 1 is the fastest animation you can get. I'm guessing it doesn't quite look like it's 24 frames per second. It might be, but it looks more like about 15 to me. It's pretty quick though. You can also set your default button here. We're going to set it to play. And this one we're going to set to button 1, I think. If we double click this, we can see our menu. So button 1 is this is the menu we want to default to. Okay. So now one cool thing we can do here is we can auto route our buttons. And if we just click this, it automatically routes them. If you don't want to auto route them, what you can do is you can select this green arrow. This is our upper button. So what happens is when you click up when you're on the play movie, we can tell it to go to the special features if we want. We tell it to go one way, and we can also make the lower button go to play menu if you want. And then this red arrow, that's the left button for that one, and that's right. The yellow is the right. Now for our scene selection, we have a slice here that's not actually a button. This is just part of our graphic. And so what we're going to do is right click this and make it a non-accessible button. That way when we route these buttons, it doesn't try to route this anywhere. It just leaves it alone. So that's pretty much it for setting this up. Now what you want to do is right click this, and we're going to go to encode and build. And this is actually just building our menus. And then once those are built, we can hit this and hit update, and we see we're using 24% of our buffer. And that's what, if you remember when in one of the earlier tutorials we looked at exporting a QC file, and it was an Excel document that told us how big our file was. That's what this relates to. So if this gets above 100%, I don't think it actually will even let you encode it, but we're okay at 24%. That's pretty low. So, another thing you can do with animations is you can decide, I probably should have done this before we encoded it, but I'll just re-encode it. If you go in here, you can choose if you want your animations to repeat or not. And actually, we don't want it to repeat, so we're okay. We don't need to re-encode. But you can see here, if we check this, it would loop this animation when we're selected. You do the same thing with the normal state, but we don't have an animation here, so we're okay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the stream tree here, and we're going to make a couple new clips. You do that by clicking here, and we're going to do a movie application and an interactive graphics menu. We're going to rename this one to background, and rename this one to main menu. What we're going to do is drag and drop this main menu here. You want to drag the whole file here onto the IG, stands for interactive graphic. And then for our background, we're going to drag and drop the background M4V, which is our video. We're just going to set that for a primary video, and for our audio. So now we have two clips, one with our menu and one with our background video. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a new playlist, and in our playlist we're now going to drop our background video. We're going to hit OK here. If we drop this down, you can see we have our background video and audio. And then we're going to make a new subpath, and it's going to be an interactive graphics menu. And we are now going to drop our clip onto there. Now, one thing about Scenarist is we haven't quite figured out how to loop our menu without losing where we are. So what Sonic had told us to do is to just add a bunch of play items so that your menu will just keep playing. And then we're going to drag the background in here several times. It seems kind of weird to me, but that's what Sonic said to do. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so our menu's ready to go. Now we're going to make one more clip. We're going to call this one our feature. And for this one, we're going to drag and drop our slideshow that we did on here. Go back to stream. Now we're going to make a new playlist. I didn't name this one. We'll name it in menu. And this one, we'll name feature. I'm just going to drag and drop the feature on there. Okay. Now what we're going to do is down here you can go to the scenario editor. And here we have our first playback and our top menu button. And so we're going to right click and say new movie object. Actually, sorry. We're going to right click this and say new movie object. And that'll link that to there. We're going to do the same thing with this one. And then we're just going to drag and drop our main menu onto there. And that'll connect everything there. And then we're also going to, we want to connect when you hit the top menu button on your remote, we want it to connect to our menu here. So we're going to have a play command and drag it. If you go here, these are all your different options you can do for navigation. And so we selected play and dragged it from there to there. Now what we can do on our main menu is if we wanted to connect our scene selection button to our scene selection menu, we're going to do a set button page, and we're just going to connect that to that. If we go back to our feature, we can also add chapter marks if we want. I'm just going to add 4 of them, just randomly. They're nowhere special. If we go back to our scenario editor, we then can do a chapter jump. Oh, we haven't added our feature yet, so what we're going to do is add a new title. We're going to drop our feature on it. And you can see these are our play markers that we created just a second ago. And we're just going to do a chapter jump so that if you select one of those, to each chapter. And then our play button, we're just going to connect that to that title. So if you hit play, it goes to there. And if you select one of these, it goes to each one of these. So now what we'd want to do, if we wanted to test this, we're actually going to close this project. And we're going to open up the XML. The XML is actually the project file. I'm going to open this up in Notepad. and we're going to do a find. We're going to look for something here called copy permission indicator, and we need to set this to 0 and save it, and then we can close it. And now we can reopen that project we were just working on. And what that does is it turns off our copy protection stuff. That's so that we can burn it to a disk and it'll work in any player. If you leave that on, I think you'll have problems with it playing in certain players or PlayStation 3s or different things. So now what we're going to do is you're going to hit mux, and we're going to uncheck this so that we don't need a disk image, and hit mux start. There's a couple of problems here. It's nothing too big. What's happening is it says that our playlist markers weren't on an iframe. That's okay. And that we didn't actually give our disk a name. So these aren't critical errors. We can just go ahead and hit continue. This will take probably 10 minutes or so. So again, I'll probably stop the computer and come back when it's done. Okay, so the disk is now finished. We can go ahead and close this. I'm going to quit out of Scenarist. And this is a mux remoting server. We can also close that. Now if we go to output and mux, and then disk, and then db, you have a folder here called bdmv. You also have two other folders, AACS and certificate. You have to delete these if you wish to burn it or to simulate it. And this is actually our project folder. You go in here and there's some files and stuff. So what you want to do is you can just burn this onto a DVD if it's small enough. In our case, 1.2 gigs, we could burn this onto a DVD and play it in a Blu-ray player and it should work. Or what you can do is if you open up Total Media Extreme or Coral Wind DVD, you can drag and drop that into there and it'll play it. Now since this is again my Mac and I'm running it through virtualization software, it actually doesn't work. It plays back the audio I think, but it's kind of spotty. So I can't actually show you the disc, but it should work if we did everything right. And I'll show you how to do this real quick just so that all you do, drag the BDMV folder into here. And if it worked on this computer, it would be playing, but you can see this thing scrolls through, but it doesn't play the video. That's just a parallels issue. So that's pretty much it on how to do a basic authoring. Hopefully that gives you a good enough idea of what you need to do to author a basic disk and how the menus work and everything. So until next time, thanks for checking us out. See ya.